After reading Morgan Housel's incredible finance book, The Psychology of Money, I started searching Google for things like: what caused the Second World War? Is greed hereditary? Are there any scientific methods to improve patience? How does luck work? At what level does paranoia become helpful? Question is, what kind of finance book would make you ask Google such things? Certainly the kind where the author believes that doing well with money depends a little less on how smart or financially savvy you are. Soft skills. Housel, the author, believes that financial success depends to some extent on things that we have little control over, such as luck and risk, and to a larger extent, on how we behave.
They learn social skills.
Everything we expose them to, their programs, their cartoons, books, the games they play, are designed to manage aggression and reinforce simple social skills.
He refers to this behavior as soft skills. He argues stuff with money, but no one is crazy. Everyone has their own unique life experiences and a view of how the world works. And because our different lives have been shaped by different but equally persuasive experiences, what seems crazy to you might make sense to me. This also goes to explain why we have different views about how money works. For example, a person who grew up in poverty thinks about risk and reward in ways a child who grew up in riches cannot fathom if he tried. The person who grew up when inflation was predominantly high experienced something the person who grew up with stable prices never had to. In summary, you know something about money that I don't, and vice versa. But as Housel puts it, in reality, your personal experience with money make up maybe 0.000000001% of what's happened in the world, but maybe 80% of how you think the world works. With this type of odds, how do you expect to make accurate money decisions all the time? Truth is, we all make financial decisions based on our own unique experiences that seem to make sense to us in a given moment. Sometimes these decisions can be crazy, but that doesn't mean we are crazy, does it? Lesson: money is a topic that is so influenced by emotion versus fact. Therefore, go out of your own way to find humility when things are going right and forgiveness, with compassion, when they go wrong. 2. Wealth is what you don't see. When people say they want to be a millionaire, what they really mean is I'd love to spend $1 million, but that's exactly the opposite of being a millionaire. Wealth is hidden. It's the ability to not spend the money that you have. It's the income not spent, the cars not bought, and the expensive gadgets foregone. It's the financial assets that haven't been converted into the things that we can see. Wealth is created by suppressing what you could buy today in order to have way more options in the future. I'm not saying a wealthy person doesn't have flashy cars, but keep in mind that the only information you have of someone who drives a $100,000 car is that they have $100,000 less than they did before they bought the car, or perhaps $100,000 more in debt. The world is filled with people who look modest but are actually wealthy, and people who look rich but are on the brink of bankruptcy. Keep this in mind when you set your own goals and when you judge other people's success. Lesson: realize that no matter how much your income is, you will not build wealth unless you're willing to put a lid on how much fun you can have with the money you've got today. 3. Tails are the ultimate drivers. We tend to underestimate how normal it is for a lot of things to fail. No matter how tough the going gets, you should be comfortable with a lot of things not working. Why? Because you can be wrong half the time and still make a fortune. See, it's not whether you're right or wrong that's important. What's important is how much money you gained when you were right and how much money you lost when you were wrong. History has shown us that a lot of investors and businesses have made several wrong decisions in the past that cost them a fortune. But by making just one right decision, they were able to achieve groundbreaking success that was huge enough to change the narrative to happy ever after. Housel calls these type of successes tail events. A tail event is a game changer, and when you accept that tails drive everything in business, investing, and finance, you won't be bothered if a lot of things fail. Practically speaking, it's okay to have a large chunk of poor investments and a few outstanding ones. In 2013, Warren Buffett said he's owned 400 to 500 stocks during his life and made most of his money on 10 of them. People also pay so much attention to a role model's success that they tend to forget that their gains come from a tiny percent of their actions. It's no wonder people get so hard on themselves whenever they make mistakes. Lesson: be comfortable with mishaps. They are not your final destination, but can be only if you stop there. Carry on. Your next project might as well be your tail event. 4. Getting wealthy is different from staying wealthy. In the author's words, if I had to summarize money success in a single word, it would be survival. Getting money and keeping money are two different skills. Getting money requires taking risks, being optimistic, and putting yourself out there, and there are more than a million ways to do that. Keeping money means you're ready to put up with a combination of frugality and paranoia. Frugality means that you are able to delay your instant gratification for a future benefit. It means you're ready to be patient, humble, and willing to not keep up with the Joneses. Paranoia increases your chance of consistently making right money decisions over time. It reminds you that what you've made can be taken away from you just as fast. It requires an acceptance that at least some of what you've made is attributable to luck, so past successes can't be relied upon to repeat indefinitely. Lesson: getting money is one thing, keeping it is another. Know the difference. 5. You don't need tremendous force to create tremendous results. One of the most logic-defying facts in finance is the effect of compounding. It's so amazing how little growths can serve as the fuel for future bigger growths that lead to super extraordinary results. Many attribute Warren Buffett's fortune to his superior investment skills. Yes, his skill is investing, but his secret is time. You don't need tremendous force to create tremendous results. All you need is time for your little efforts to compound into amazing results. Be patient. Time is the most powerful force in investing because it allows compounding to work its wonders. It makes little things grow big and makes big mistakes fade away. Lesson: increasing your time horizon could be one of the most powerful decisions you would ever make if you want to do better as an investor. 6. There's no universal truth. When it comes to finance, you have to find what works for you. Finance is often taught as a math-based topic where you plug in figures into a model or formula and it tells you what to do. But knowing what to do doesn't tell you much about what happens in your head when you try to do it. In Housel's words, there are basic principles that must be adhered to. This is true in finance and in medicine, but important financial decisions are not made in spreadsheets or in textbooks. They are made at the dinner table. They often aren't made with the intention of maximizing returns, but minimizing the chance of disappointing a spouse or a child. As we all know, good decisions aren't always rational, and at some point, we'll have to choose between being happy or being right. Lesson: there's no universal truth in finance. There's only what works for you and your family. You have to find what works for you in a way that leaves you comfortable and sleeping well at night. 7. Controlling your time is the highest dividend money pays. Financial freedom doesn't mean you have all the money in the world. Financial freedom doesn't mean you'll never work again. Financial freedom means that your financial status now affords you the flexibility to spend your time working on the things you love. So use your money to gain control over your time, because not having control over your time can be a brutal drag on happiness. Lesson: the ability to do what you want, when you want, with who you want, for as long as you want to, pays the highest dividend that exists in finance. 8. You'll change. People's goals and desires change over time. What you want today might be different from what you'll want in 10 years, and this makes long-term financial planning quite difficult. Some people tend to work tirelessly for money while ignoring their happiness so they could have a comfortable retirement. Others take life easier, doing what they love while enjoying every bit of it at the expense of not having a great retirement. Either ways, any path chosen here carries equal potential to lead to things they might regret later in life. You could grind all your life and look back at a life spent devoted to chasing dollars, or you could follow your passion and regret not being able to afford retirement. So in order to avoid the downsides of these extreme ends, Housel suggests that we try to seek balance. In his words, aiming, at every point in your working life, to have a moderate life, to have moderate annual savings, moderate free time, no more than a moderate commute, and at least moderate time with your family, increases the odds of being able to stick with a plan and avoid regret than if any one of those things fall to the extreme sides of the spectrum. Lesson: don't make your future self a prisoner to your past decisions. Avoid the extreme ends of financial planning. 9. Save money. As Housel puts it, saving is a hedge against life's inevitable ability to surprise the hell out of you at the worst possible moment. Here are some points to consider if you don't take saving seriously. The more savings you have, the more independent you become. The more you save, the more control you have over your time and options in the future. Life's a bitch, and having more money in the bank means you have better chances of surviving unexpected and unplanned huge expenses that are sure to come sometime in the future. Savings gives you the privilege to partake in life-changing investment opportunities that may come up in the future, and during economic downturns, savings could also prevent you from selling your most valuable investments. In building wealth, savings is the only determinant factor that you have 100% control over. Lesson: need I say more? Save money. 10. Have a sense of enough. In Morgan's words, the hardest financial skill, yet one of the most important, is getting the goalpost to stop moving. It gets really dangerous when the taste of having more money, more power, more prestige, increases ambition faster than satisfaction. In this scenario, one step forward pushes the goalpost 2 steps ahead. You never have a sense of enough because you feel as if you're falling behind, and the only way to catch up is to take bigger amounts of financial risk. To most people, the idea of having enough might seem like leaving opportunity and potential on the table, but this isn't true. Enough is realizing that the opposite, an insatiable appetite for more, will push you to the point of painful regret. There are many things never worth risking, no matter the potential gain, things like happiness, reputation, freedom, family, and being loved by those you want to love you. And the best way to keep these things is knowing when it's time to stop taking risks that might harm them. In Warren Buffett's words, if you risk something that is important to you for something that is unimportant to you, it does just not make any sense. Remember, if expectations rise with results, there is no logic in striving for more because you'll feel the same after putting in extra effort. Lesson: greed is silent but is very real. Most people realize they were greedy only after the damage has been done. Have a sense of enough.